We'll call the Thursday, January 22nd, 2026 City Commission meeting to order. All 5 commissioners are present. First item on the order of business is the consideration of approval of the minutes from January 8th, 2026. Questions, changes, or comments on that?
I have none.
Okay, they will stand as written. Next up, financial statement for the month of December 2025. Mr. Rupp.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Kim Rupp, Director of Finance. This is a report of financial summaries for revenue and expenditure activities, month ended December 31, year ended December 31. Revenues in December totaled $12,959,822. That's an increase of $259,456 when we compare to a year ago. So notable areas of increased revenue. Leading that increase for 2025 were the transfers made to reserves at year end. Several funds, including airport, water reclamation, and solid waste. We were able to increase those transfers for a combined $765,000. Notable areas of revenue decrease. Airport federal aid fell $326,000 due to ARPA funding a year ago. And capital projects was off $1,515,000 due to the transfers into capital projects at this time last year to shore up the Fire Station number 3 construction costs. Expenditures in December totaled $12,742,192. That's a decrease of $802,000 when we compare back to 2024. Notable areas of increased expenditure, as was on the revenue side, you see the increased expenditures totaling that $765 for those transfers to reserves. R9 projects expenditures are up $16,000 for abandoned well plugging activities. Stormwater reserve increased $106,500 for the continued construction of the equipment storage building. Some notable areas of decreased expenditure, capital projects expenditures were off a net $609,000, taking into consideration the finalizing of the May 24 hail claims for this year, and the AMI and Grove projects beginning a year ago. Commission capital reserve fell $1,877,920 due to the Fire Station number 3 expenditures and the BSR transfer this time last year. The purchase of 4 pickups, golf course mowers, and a capitalized lease of 3 police vehicles this time a year ago dropped new equipment reserve expenditures $322,000. The transfer of $281,000, putting aside funds in reserve for multi-use path a year ago, increased special parks projects. And water reclamation reserve fell $222,000 for the sanitary sewer point repair project at this time last year. Month-to-date general fund sales tax collections were at $872,372, which is an increase of $18,500 or 2%. We end the year with general fund sales tax up $95,816 or 1% over last year actuals. 6-month average was down 0.6%, which was a year-over-year decrease of 2.2%. And county sales tax collections ended the year at $1,189,773, up $28,624. The report of top 10 quarter-to-date sales tax collections by classification was up 8,751 or 0.27%. Those top 10 represent 73% of the total. Total par value of U.S. Treasuries for December 31 was $4.5 million, with a weighted average yield to maturity of 4.13. That's down 0.17 from a year ago. Total of the portfolio certificates of deposit on December 31 was $69,021,556, with a weighted average rate to maturity of 3.96. That's down 1%. Total balance of the money market account on December 31 was $4,302,245. with a weighted average yield of 3.59, down 0.2 from a year ago, and total investments were up $5,296,35. And finally, in your packet, you'll find a summary of general fund revenue and expenditures year ended 2025. This is similar to what you find in the budget. These numbers are unaudited at this point. That's my little disclaimer for you. There are a couple of highlights to review. Total operating expenditures finished the year $456,368 under budget. Again, we're talking about general funds, so all the general fund departments, they ended down $456. Transfer into commission cap reserve was $2.6 million. That was healthy. We were able to increase that $400,000 due to, in part, to a lot of that savings in there. And then additionally, the unreserved fund balance stays at a very strong $2.339 million.
Make a motion to approve the December financial statement.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Musil, second by Commissioner Jacobs. Questions or comments for Kim?
Kim, I appreciate you giving us an update on that. I like that. You're transparent. Anybody can see that. I appreciate that very much. So we ended up sales tax revenue being up 1%, but the inflation is roughly what, 3%?
I believe so, yep.
So technically, we weren't really.
Technically, we lost ground.
Yeah, we lost ground. Just got to be careful for this year.
Yeah, and I
That's why we
think
passed
what
a
you'll-
conservative budget.
Yeah, and you pass a conservative budget, and I think what you see in the operating expenditures being down 460,000 is the departments
Yep.
are being very cautious with how they spend money and not wanting to overextend ourselves.
Very much
But
appreciate it.
those savings, you can't pinpoint any one particular thing, but it was kind of across the board. It was, a couple of departments, fire in particular, operated almost the whole year understaffed, so they saved some salaries. The contingencies, a lot of the contingencies they didn't have to use up. Fuel in equipment expense was down 26,000. I made note of that. And then just regular general supplies and materials. So across the board is kind of several things throughout all the budgets.
Kudos to the departments.
Yeah, very much so.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Next up, citizen comments for non-agenda items. Anybody wish to speak? Okay. Moving on, we have the consent agenda. We have a mayoral appointment recommendation for care council.
Move approval of consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jacobs, second by Commissioner Cunningham. Questions, comments?
I do have some questions.
Okay, you go ahead.
I know we got an applicant last minute. Was there any review done to see if, because we have 2 applicants now for that position, but 1 open position. The 1 open position is family to Sean, so I know that could cause some potential conflict of interest, and I'd hate to see Sean not being able to vote on anything that the care council might bring to us because of that family connection.
I'm not sure that that is a conflict. I think we'd have to look at council for that. I kind of thought through that when Heather applied. I don't think there's anything there that will classify it as a conflict, but we probably have to have
What we
Don.
always do on that is we put it all together, right?
Mhm.
We separate out that one, and Sean could
Yeah, we could always do that.
keep everything else together, take out the one that Sean is involved in, and just have him abstain.
Kim has it.
If it helps, because we distribute the care council funds. Care council, the way they're structured, they're making all of the decisions separate from
Right.
anything else. And so when that comes to us, we're paying those funds how they decided to distribute to each of those.
Right.
those.
We're
So
just
there's-
approving the dollar amount.
So there's no, so yeah, your annual budget is really all that you're approving for those expenditures and social
Good
service
point.
funds and alcoholic liquor tax.
Good point.
So care council is the one, those individuals are making those decisions on where those distributions go.
And for my clarification, just because I'm not entirely sure how it works, haven't served on it. The care council itself oversees, what, 9 organizations, something like that in
I think
budgets?
it's more than that.
Jared, do you remember?
It's like, it depends on year over year, how many groups apply. Any outside, any nonprofit in the community has the ability to apply for those funds.
Okay, okay.
So I couldn't tell you how many have applied this year. You'd have to look at historically how many have applied.
And then internally, the care council splits them up, saying like, you're gonna focus on these ones and whatnot, right? So would she, potentially, if she had a conflict with, which one is it,
I believe it was options.
options, they would basically say, you can't
They
look
put
at
her on a
options.
different one.
They'd put her on, say,
They make that conflict decision within their organization.
And to be clear, my mother-in-law was, I don't know if she still is on the board of options.
Right.
So that's where
That's
that-
why they wouldn't put her on
Sure.
that one.
No,
for
she'd be
decisions.
put on, because she served on the care council before, correct?
And that number, I've
Yes,
been on
she
the
has.
care council, and that number of agencies can go anywhere from 7 to 15. I was on there one time, a couple of years, that it was 14 or 15 different agencies.
Commissioners, as a former United Way board member, what the Care Council does, they give the recommendation to the United Way board. The United Way board is actually the one who approves where that money goes. So the Care Council is just the ones recommending to the United Way board.
Right.
Okay, so there's multiple board layers before it even gets to us.
Well, as Kim said, I think what I understood what Kim's saying, we're just approving that total expenditure.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, by the time it gets to us.
We don't ever,
nothing.
we don't ever have to come back to you. You know, I just got that list yesterday, so I don't have to come to you with that list of
Right.
108,000 that we're gonna spend, because you've already approved it in the budget as one whole number.
And then they split it out.
So they have listed those entities and how that 180 is gonna go out, and the 60 on the alcoholic liquor.
I appreciate Commissioner Volasing bringing
Yeah.
it up. I am, I'm a real stickler for conflict on different boards that I'm on, and I bring it up often. So the fact that you brought it up, I think, gives good clarification.
Yeah, I appreciate the conversation and clears some things up. As for today, I would still recommend approval for Heather. I've known Heather a while. I think she would do a good job. I think she would be impartial. And I believe the multi-layer of both the council and the United Way board having their own bylaws and board
Right.
governance would require there not to be a conflict.
Well, and as she stated, she was invited to make that application.
Yes.
People wanted her
And
on
it's
that
not her
board.
first term to serve for them either.
It isn't the first term on CARE? I didn't know.
It's her second,
Second.
just non-consecutive.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
In the application that we get yesterday, I think it was.
Oh, Brandy Ridgeway?
Yes, and then we have that, I mean, because there will be 2 more appointments to that
Right.
council this year as well.
And Brandy's been on there, right? Hasn't Brandy been on there before?
I don't know if she's been on that one,
She's been on some
at least
board.
from my review.
Over time, what happens is, I know as mayor and others have said, people apply for what you want. We often have applications stacked up in certain areas that the openings aren't there yet.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's happening from my perspective with Brandy.
Yes, now that it is. Because prior to Heather applying over a month ago, when we had no applications, they were running 1 member short, if I understood that right. Which, I mean, brings up a really good point too, is if you know anybody who would like to serve on any of these boards and committees, please submit your application as soon as you can. We would rather have a full binder full of names and people willing to serve on these. They're very important positions. So if you know anybody, please have them submit their application so we can review those and add them to this piece. Because right now, I think we only have, I think with Brandy's now, that brings us to 8 applications for all the boards. So we are running low.
If it tells you how much my wife and I communicate, I didn't know she applied until I seen it come in the packet, so.
Not sure I'd want that on the record.
I was just going to say, do you know this is being recorded?
She's used to it.
I appreciate Heather. I'm glad she was willing to step up. I know the board. I think the board asked her.
They did.
Yeah, they did. That's what she told me.
Okay.
She did tell me.
Thank you, David. Appreciate the conversation. Any other questions or comments on this item?
So, question, should I not vote on this?
No, you can.
No,
do
you're
that.
fine.
It's
Okay.
based upon what we've been told.
Okay. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not
Agree.
crossing the board.
Thanks, Don. Okay. If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you. Good questions. Number 6, comprehensive financial management policy revisions. Mr. Rupp.
Still Kim Rupp, Director of Finance. The current comprehensive financial management policy was adopted in 2005 and revised in 2021. That revision removed past practices, codified current practices, and updated reserve fund references. So now we need a few more updates to clarify some terminology, set a cap on the balance of the budget stabilization. I'll refer to that as BSR. Deleting obsolete sections, providing language for the switch to the new KMAG audit, and then some minor formatting and edits. So first section, 1.01, we're adding clarifying terminology here in reference to the general fund's unreserved fund balance. We talked about that a little bit earlier on the financial. The word expenditures replaces budget to better define the intention there. Budget can mean revenues and expenditures. In this context, we're concentrating on expenditures. Policy is 5%. As you know, we budget 10% because we're a little more conservative in that nature. So try to clarify that. 1.03, after staff discussion, it's recommended to put a cap of $3 million on the BSR. History has proven the city's budgeted unreserved fund balance. The BSR and the commission capital reserve would be sufficient should we find ourselves in an unforeseen emergency. David and I talked about this earlier. You know, if we're hitting that budget stabilization, we're in dire straits. We got Armageddon because we've burned through some pretty healthy other balances before we got there. So,
Hey,
so we feel that $3
Can I
million.
jump in on that real quick, Kim? This was actually my first project as assistant city manager in 2005, was writing this comprehensive financial management policy. And what I can tell you is 2005 was the first full year we collected sales tax for the general fund. And the biggest concern the city leaders had back then was the potential volatility of sales tax. And they envisioned the possible this with sales tax, and we haven't gotten that. You know, we've gotten this, more like, it mimics almost property taxes. The other thing is, we didn't have a whole lot of money in the bank back then. We didn't have the reserves funded across the board like we have now, and so a lot of times the general fund was used as the emergency fund if you had other issues around as a savings, and so that's where we came up with the 25%. But I agree with Kim, over the years, we've built up reserves in every fund to make sure we have adequate reserves. And then with the unreserved fund balance and the way we budget now, we're definitely good in making this modification.
This also is in line with our recent S&P rating. The agency commented regarding the robust cash reserves outlook that we have. So we felt, you know, if they're looking at us that way and rating us as well as they are, we'd be all right. And then 3.03, the purpose of the next slide. 3.03, the purpose of the section on revenue mix wasn't clear, and it was found to be really irrelevant to this policy, so we deleted that entire section. 5.27, since we changed to the regulatory basis financial audit as referred to in the Kansas Municipal Audit and Accounting Guide, or KMAG, any references to the gap that we had were deleted and KMAG put in and inserted. A few years ago, it was asked the question, why do we do a gap audit? Mr. Belzer asked that question, and looking into it, we were able to do the KMAG and saved us some money. So there was a simple question asked, and then we answered it with this. And auditors also helped with this section, getting it right. 7.04, this pertains to the enterprise fund, so basically water, sewer, trash, stormwater. This puts us in line with budgeted practices over the last several years and doesn't tie those budgets to a required cash carryover, although we do try to budget about $500,000 in some of those funds if we can, since they each have their own set of reserves and do an annual transfer through that operating budget of each. 8.01, this was another gap versus KMAG, and there's a lot of pronouncements set out in here, all the codification of the gap and everything, and those pronouncements that could come out. So auditors helped us through that and took a big chunk out of there. And then finally, given the monthly financial reports that you receive, the requirement of a written status report on this policy was really found unneeded. So we deleted that section. There's really no other commission policy that had that provision in it either. So we decided to delete that out. So options would be to approve that, suggest other modifications, or do nothing. And so today we'd like for you to approve.
I move to approve the comprehensive financial management policy as presented.
I second.
Motion by Commissioner Cunningham, second by Commissioner Beleising. Additional questions or comments for Kim?
Kim, can you go back to your first page, I think? So the extra, we're not having to put as much in, I guess, savings. What does that give us the ability to do? I mean, can we pay down debt with that extra money or projects?
So where, are you talking about if we had to bolster budget stabilization?
Yes, sir.
If we had to meet that 25%?
Yes.
So as you know, your commission capital reserve is everything left over at the end of
Right.
the year. So, once we've met that 10% cash reserve or cash carryover in general fund, we can get everything else out of there and put it in reserve so you can pay for cash for projects for cash. If we were to have to go back and recalculate the BSR, it would reduce that transfer. So that's where that comes from. So in a way, yeah, we can continue to transfer as much as we can to commission cap reserve, but it's 3 different funds that you have access to, that if we're in dire straits, we can bolster the budget, without having to come back maybe for an amendment or something, but it comes out of, that 25% would come out of that transfer. And we did that a year ago. We actually, 2025, we had to bolster the BSA. I'm sorry, 2020 we did 250,000, and in 2024 we did 363,000. So that reduced the transfers to commission cap reserve in those years.
So
It kind of 6 one, half dozen the other.
No,
If
I-
they're over here, it's over here, so we.
I totally get that. So I guess the question I have, and I don't know if this goes together, but let's say things are getting tight and we're like, oh, we're going to have to raise a mill levy. Can we use this extra funds to?
You can use the budget stabilization for anything you want. It's
Anything you want.
unrestricted cash. And it's always been referred to as a rainy day fund. It's really an emergency fund. You've got your unreserved fund balance that would protect us from a sharp economic downturn, hopefully to absorb and then be able to prepare for the next budget accordingly. And that budget stabilization is truly, if there's an emergency where you have to get access to a lot of cash quickly, that's what that's for. Or to help out in a really long, protracted downturn if you needed it. Sure.
Train of thought for us is if we were, we're looking at an instance where revenue has fallen short. We wouldn't, without an amendment, be able to come back to you and spend more. But if revenue were falling short and we needed to bolster revenue, we would eat into that 10% cash reserve first before we ever come back to you for help. And then we'd probably go to commission cap reserve before we did budget stabilization.
Makes sense.
That, just because it's interesting to me. If we ever got to that point, obviously Armageddon's happening anyway. We eat through all those. I mean, we can't levy for general fund expenditures anyway, right?
Correct.
So what would we do in that situation?
Well, yeah.
That's exactly right.
And that's why you should think of it as an emergency fund. And when this was created, the perfect storm of oil and ag going down all at once and then Travenol leaving was still fresh in a lot of people's memories, because that had a very quick economic effect on the city. And then you had a recession right after that too. So having that as an emergency fund in the bank, when you get a perfect economic storm like that, your first reaction may be to raise taxes to provide services, but your residents may not be willing to raise taxes at the time. This could provide a bridge as you lower your services a little bit, for having to go back and raise taxes.
Right.
Sounds like a lot of money. It's not a lot of money. $3 million. It's not. If we have a major emergency, that's not going to help a lot.
Burn through it fast.
But good thing that we are being smart with our funds and putting back, what do they call it? Very healthy reserve?
Robust. Yes.
Robust
Robust,
reserve.
yes, robust.
Robust.
That way we don't
With-
have to do that.
With, I can't remember the terminology, with stabilization, a stable future.
Robust? I like it.
That's a good thing.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on this? Okay. Not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Next up, R9 updates from city staff. Mr. Brown.
Nice to see you, Mr. Brown.
Likewise. As I said, I am John Brown, and it is my pleasure to update you on the status of the R9 project in terms of the wellfield and pipeline design. During the previous update, which was in August at a joint meeting between the governing bodies of Hayes and Russell, representative from Burns McDonald and I presented a summary of the wellfield design and infrastructure to be included in the wellfield projects. Design of the wellfield, which includes 7 wells and well houses, a 500,000 gallon storage tank, a pump station, elevated storage tank at Shinshin. This has been mostly complete since December of actually 2024, when the basis of design report was submitted to KDHE for review. We expect that KDHE permit approval any time now. And I want to note that this KDHE approval is separate from and independent of the Water Transfer Act approval. This is just a permitting thing for the improvements. This here map shows the 7 well locations labeled R1 up at the upper right. My pointer works. I have to remember how to do this. I don't present often. There we go. There we go. And then R8 through R13 as you go down to the lower left. The red lines are pipelines that'll be connecting the wells that will be done as part of this project. The grayed out numbers and the blue lines are locations that would be for a future project if necessary someday. The storage tank and the pump station are right up there between R1 and R8 as labeled. The design of the 70-mile raw water transmission line is also 100% complete. Plans and specifications were submitted to KDHE for permit review in October. We've received their first round of review comments from KDHE on November 25th, and we have responded to those comments, and we're waiting follow-up questions or permit approval any day now. The design still does allow for pipe material to be either PVC or HDPE pipe to assure competition in pricing materials, and it is a 24-inch diameter pipe. This map shows the route that I'm sure you've seen before, you might be familiar with. The pipeline runs north out of the R9 Ranch down here, up on the west side of Kinsley. It jogs over a few times before it gets to Roselle, to where it's about 3 miles off of 183. And then once we get north of Roselle, and we jog over again, till we're about 2 miles off of 183 on up through Rush Center and La Crosse. All the way through Rush Center, it's a straight line shot. Once we get to past Liebenthal, Loretta's somewhere else. And we hit the county line, we jog over to 183, go past the river at Shinshin, about 2 miles north, where we tie into the existing water lines down there that are feeding off of the Smoky Hill well field. Regarding acquisition, as mentioned in the previous project updates, the route was selected back in November of 23. Property owners along the pipeline route were notified, title work and legal descriptions for all easements were completed, appraisals and just compensation valuations were calculated, offers were made, and delivered to property owners in March of '25, so almost a whole year ago, to 130 tracks along the 70-mile route. As of this day, we have recorded easements and paid compensation for 115 of the 130 tracks. The 15 tracks remaining, there's 4 in Edwards County, 5 in Pawnee County, and 6 in Rush County. Regarding funding, we continue to research and pursue funding sources for this project. The best viable funding source at this time is the EPA WIFIA loan. WIFIA is a low-interest loan program through the EPA that will be used to finance the project costs not covered by other means. It is a very flexible funding mechanism that allows us to incorporate various other funding sources into it, and we only borrow what we need as we need it. In March of '25, so almost a year ago, the city submitted a letter of interest to start the review process for this program. In May of last year, we received an invitation to submit a loan application, and that application is nearly ready to submit. We are only awaiting a preliminary credit rating from S&P at the moment, and the timing is, we're not behind, we're not ahead. There's quite a bit of flexibility in applying for that as well. We've got some time here, but the deadline actually for application is June of this year. But that's also just a matter of asking for permission if we need to. But I think we shouldn't have any trouble meeting that deadline. So,
John, once we're invited to make application, we are 90%, 100% assured.
if we have to check all the boxes, but what I was told verbally, I don't think it's anything in writing, but that out of appropriated funds, they've already said, we've got some for Hayes. So the money we would need to borrow does not need any sort of federal appropriation. It's sitting there, waiting for us to use if and when we check all the boxes.
The process of that is the application.
The process of that in the application,
Thank
right?
you.
Yeah, and Kim and John can attest, they have a very strong vetting process before they invite you to submit that
Right.
loan application. So we had to prepare a pretty detailed pro forma and meet with the EPA.
I know we had
people
talked
after
about that, and I just wanted to reiterate it again, that it's pretty much a done deal for all intents and purposes.
Nothing's ever for sure.
I know. That's why I said 90.
Okay. So, with all of that said, assuming that we receive final water transfer approval by mid-year, let's say July the 1st, the bid letting construction schedule would look something like this. It would take us, if we, July 1st, if we got the Water Transfer Act approved, it would take us as long as 6 months, I don't think longer than that, to finalize all the bid documents and get advertised. And then early in '27, we could hopefully award contracts for construction and begin construction in the spring, maybe April, allowing for a full 2 years of construction and then substantial completion and final completion, everything wrapped up by the
mayor will be all grown up by then.
We'll be all grown up, and Sean and I'll still be here.
I'll finally have my driver's license. I can go look at it.
So, I think the bottom line is that city staff is pleased with the progress of design and easement acquisition, and we will be ready to proceed when we get the green light.
We're gonna have the biggest bottle of champagne in here, right?
Definitely.
So if you have any questions about funding, easements, or design, I'd be happy to take them now. But otherwise, I will turn it over to Chris Smith to give you an update on the operation of the ranch.
John, those last 15, I'm assuming it's the people you don't believe will get signed?
There's some that I don't think we'll get them to voluntarily sign. I'm still working. Almost, it seems like almost every day, I'm still working with some. I would say out of those 15, I'm 95% confident we'll get 5 of those. And then also, and Don probably can attest, if we actually file a petition, condemnation, they fall in line. I mean, they'll sign.
That's
They
still a pretty
usually
good
do.
turnout before we even get to that
Yeah, it
point.
is.
But,
Really
yeah.
good
Yeah.
turnout.
Yeah, it is.
Never dreamed it'd be that high.
Yeah.
We found that on other projects, that there are people that, for whatever reason, just on principle, they want to make the condemnation petition get filed, and then,
Sure.
you know, then they'll take the offer. Or some people want the condemnation petition filed, and they want the court to set the amount,
Right.
and then that's the offer they take.
Right. I don't want to get you any fault. There are a few of them that we probably will have to, just to settle or clear the title.
Right.
Because it's kind of messed up, so to speak. And the court will have to determine who to pay,
Sure.
basically.
Yeah.
Is this due to the land being like in a trust or something of that nature?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dysfunctional families.
Yeah. Okay.
Have one of those.
We all got that.
I had a question about the life of the material, the pipe that's going to be used. I saw you put PVC down there, and you know, I make that connection to PVC, and I think, boy, that's the cheapest thing out there.
Yeah.
What's the life span of the pipe there?
The pipe is rated for 50 years plus. PVC these days, I will say PVC got a bad rap back in the 70s because some of it didn't last. The PVC that we're putting in the ground today, I'm confident that it's going to last for 100 plus. I mean, it's buried in the ground. It's not exposed to UV, which degrades it. So. Right.
Crispin?
Where that voice is coming from.
We know where that voice is supposed to be coming from.
And I know we've seen, especially on the ones we've repaired, that Jeff's brought before us with that fancy liner they shoot through there. That adds, another 20 years to the life once it's kind of got to that point anyway. So sounds like it'll be there, hopefully past me.
And then the other option that was up there also has a 50 plus, I'm
Right.
assuming?
The HDPE, yeah. The HDPE pipe is basically a jointless pipe. So it's welded, fused, plastic welded, not metal welded, but fused in the field, and so is a seamless pipe. Pros and cons, either of them are good. It's just whichever is going to be most economical at the time. You kind of have an offsetting in whether the resin prices are high or low versus your construction costs. Your HDPE pipe can have a higher construction cost, but if your resin prices are low, then that can offset that higher construction cost. So
You'd be happy with either.
be happy with either.
Then I guess just for everyone's sake, for fun, Sandy got a call last week, and then I got a call that
This isn't just for fun, this is big ass.
this is a big deal. I danced around. We got a call last week from Senator Moran, who informed us that his congressionally delegated spending request, CDS request, was included for Hayes and Russell in this most current funding bill. So that means that the city of Hayes will be getting about $11 million towards this project to help offset some of those costs, which is a huge deal. And Russell will be getting $1 million for their share of that. So that is a big, big, big deal.
We can all say
Yeah.
yay.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Big
mean,
deal.
that's wonderful. I mean, we couldn't have done it without his support and his staff support for doing that. It's been going for a while now, and he hasn't let up. So we really appreciate Senator Moran's efforts on securing those funds for us to help offset those costs. That's a big, big deal.
Thank you, Senator Moran.
Absolutely. I wanted a big check here. I don't know where to make a big check.
Before Chris gets started, can I give just a brief update since John mentioned the transfer approval? So there was a Supreme Court hearing, oral argument in December of this year. The oral argument was on the original challenge to the conversion of the water rights that went to Edwards County District Court. The City of Hayes and DWR won in a very resounding ruling. Our opponent's Water Pack appealed that ruling. We counter-appealed to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court took it up, and that argument was on December 15th. The argument went very well, we thought. We thought the line of questioning from the judges was very well from our perspective. We thought our attorney did a wonderful job presenting the side, and we thought Stephanie Kramer with the DWR did a wonderful job presenting on behalf of DWR. We hope the Supreme Court gives a positive ruling, and when they do, this will put an end to that challenge. And then the transfer panel has indicated they're going to hold the final hearing, as soon as the Supreme Court rules. And the transfer panel had been pending that final ruling. That whole process has been truncated while they wait for the Supreme Court to rule. Hayes and Russell's water transfer application has been approved by an administrative law judge. The last step in the process is the panel has to have one final hearing and then issue their approval. So we're hoping the Supreme Court rules soon. I do check the decisions that are released on Friday, and then I look at the date it was argued because it's on the first page of the decision. And some are decided after 3 months, some after 4, some after 5. You know, there's no rhyme or reason, so we hope they decide fairly quickly and we can move on.
But I think it was made clear in listening to the testimony, it was made clear how long this has been drug out and what we have done to get here in 10 years. So, I mean, I looked to council to tell us, but I was hoping they'd stay in that 90-day window. Do you think that's possible? No, not 3 months? No.
This is a fairly new topic. It's not,
Oh, and that's
it's not a classification of a crime.
Yeah.
Perks of being the guinea pigs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
That's
may
a good
take a
point.
while.
It's not
Just
2
keep
years.
thinking good thoughts.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you, Toby. Your turn.
Okay, I'm Chris Smith, the R9 property manager, and I'm here today to give you kind of an update on the operations and activities that are taking place out there. Wanted to begin with a little bit of a history, kind of a visual here that can help show where we began regarding the native grass restoration and where we're at. This slide shows the progress in transitioning the property from cropping to native grasses. Crops began coming out of production in 2007, with the last circle coming out in 2017. Over this same time period, grass plantings began in the lower left, in the yellow shaded areas, and worked their way up to the north and around the horseshoe and ended in the bottom right. This looks pretty good from space, or the edge of space. We've made a lot of progress, but there's still a lot of areas that need some attention out there, and we're working on those. The native grass plantings establishment successes over the years has varied throughout the property. The majority of the 42 circles are now seeing establishment. Several locations have been replanted over the years, but there's still, like I'd mentioned earlier, there's still a few areas with replanting needs. And we're going to continue to work through these as time and funding allows. The goal is to heal the remaining poor areas and transition from basically the top picture to the bottom picture. We're going to continue to work to be good stewards of the land and to protect and conserve the aquifer beneath it. As we saw in the previous slide, we're making progress. Last year, we replanted the areas in the worst condition where there was little to no grass established. They're highlighted in yellow. They're added up to roughly 300 acres is what we planted last year. And with the timely rains and moderate temperatures, we had fairly decent germination. These plantings looked pretty good going into winter. There was one area in the far bottom right that the crabgrass came in pretty hard, so I'm a little bit concerned about that, but there's not a lot of options to deal with it. We can't spray or graze the seedlings that first year, so we'll see what we can do this spring and see how it comes out. I'm hopeful that it'll be all right. The areas shaded in blue are the next round of areas I'd like to address. This year, I'd budgeted for approximately 200 acres to be replanted. Hopefully that will work out and we can get another good season with some rain and moderate temperatures. Last year was about ideal. Everything was timed about perfectly. With the recent additions of fencing and livestock watering sources, the areas shaded in white were grazed regularly for the first time this past year. This is not only beneficial to the grasses within these areas, but it's also a benefit to other pastures on the property. Bringing these two pastures into the rotational grazing program has allowed us to rest pastures for the entire growing season. The pasture shaded in yellow was rested this past year, and the grasses responded very well. It looks fantastic. The pasture and rest can also serve as somewhat of an insurance policy in the event of a potential destructive act or natural disaster, such as a drought or a hailstorm. If conditions occur that can be detrimental to the grasses in one particular area, we can use this pasture as a backup to buy time or to reduce grazing days in other pastures. So these two pastures, bringing them into the system has really helped and gave us a lot of flexibility. I know I talked about this, I believe, at the Russell Commission meeting. The Kansas Department of Health and Environment requires the plugging of abandoned wells that pose potential threats to groundwater aquifers. We'd identified 15 old inactive stock and facility wells in need of plugging last year. And to help with the expense of this work, we applied for cost share assistance through the Edwards County Conservation District. But after nearly 9 months, one government shutdown, we were finally informed that we will not receive any cost share assistance. So we went ahead and moved forward. These wells are now plugged according to KDH&E specifications. The picture on the left is the location of the wells that we had plugged. I'm not exactly sure. Some of them were obvious stock wells, but that cluster down there in the middle, I'm not exactly sure what was going on there in the past, but it was kind of a mess. So it's good to get those plugged up because they're basically straws directly into the aquifer. Invasive species, talked about this a few times. Locust trees are not technically invasive, but they can be invasive in certain conditions. Cattle and wildlife like the seed pods, and they can quickly spread them across the landscape. In 2025, we cut roughly 300 trees. Did a lot of work there. The picture on the left is tamarisk, or commonly called salt cedar. It is an invasive species that is very hardy. It uses a lot of water and increases soil salinity. So it can quickly outcompete the native vegetation. There are several locations where these shrubs are creeping onto the property from the river basin. We've done a little bit of work, but there's more to do. This past year, we took out about 150 of them. So we put a pretty good dent in them. I just wanted to mention the picture on the right there. We did have a little help from a Pheasants Forever habitat specialist, and I really appreciated him helping with the locust tree removals. Unprescribed fire, we've talked about this last year. Native warm season grasses need disturbances to thrive, reproduce, and maintain their dominance over the landscape. Rotational grazing is our primary management tool. However, we are going to try to use prescribed fire to maintain and establish the grasses. Last year, we worked with the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks to create a prescribed burn plan. However, the weather didn't cooperate, and I had a pretty tight window. I wanted to time it perfectly. I was a little concerned with the sandy soils and the drying out, but this year we're going to attempt another burn, and I'm going to open that window up so that we can get it done. This year we will attempt to burn the area shaded in yellow and the area shaded in white. The pasture, or the area shaded in white, is also the pasture we intend to rest this year, so it will have a double benefit. So I'm kind of excited to see how that'll turn out. If we get a good burn through there and we rest it, should be very beneficial. I just wanted to mention too that the Hayes Parks Department and the Hayes Fire Department both have agreed to assist. They agreed last year, but I spoke with each of them here recently, and they were happy to assist with some manpower and equipment. And a couple of the firefighters are working on certifications, so this will help with that.
Chris, what time of year do you burn?
I'm gonna try to open it up the window in March. Last year I tried to get it right at April, right before the spring rains come. It's best to do it to get those rains as soon after you burn as possible. Right. But I just want to open it up. Hopefully March and April is when we'll get it done.
Could you let us know when that's gonna happen?
Absolutely.
I
Yep.
might be interested in just coming
You wanna
down
come
and
down
seeing how that
and
works.
carry a torch?
I'd do that. I'd do that.
Do not
Watch
give-
what you ask for.
Do not give her a torch.
This is just a list of some of the accomplishments or activities that we completed this past year. I think I mentioned a couple of them. But we've drilled 5 new livestock wells, installed 7 solar pumps and livestock tanks, constructed 1.5 miles of cross fencing, plugged the 15 abandoned wells, removed roughly 450 trees and shrubs, planted and maintained 300 acres of native grass, and completed herbicide applications to address Johnson grass and sandhill plums, and in 2 specific pastures to reduce weedy competition. That was quite a bit for last year. One of the things, I think it was in probably one of your progress reports, we installed pedestrian trail counters at the entrances to the Weehall areas. I thought it was pretty tricky. John and I are pretty sneaky, but the secret's going to be out now. But, what we did is we modified the backside of our walk-through gate posts, notched them, screwed them to the post, and covered them up. And they've been working really well for the people who walk through there. It catches them. These counter project an infrared beam that detects the change in temperatures, so they're very accurate. There is one day that's coming up in a slide where there's a peak, but I would look back in the history, and it was like on December 18th, and the wind was blowing like 65 miles an hour down there, and there were about 1,000 tumbleweeds at the front gate. So data may be a little skewed here in a minute, but the counters are pretty cool because they're Bluetooth capable. When I get there, I just walk up, log in, it sends it to my phone, and I can send it off to the parent company. Then when I get back, I can go into that company's database, and I can look at what's going on and generate some of these reports. And here's one of them. The counters are working very well, and I've been somewhat surprised at the amount of use by the hunting this year. I had my suspicions that it was fairly high compared to the last couple of years, but these numbers verify it. You can see here that there's a few zeros in the bottom, but there's quite a bit of activity. That's the daily activity from November 8th to December 15th. The blue bars are the south entrance, and the black bars are the north entrance. Oops, got that backwards. As you can see, there's been a lot of activity, and I've observed a lot of activity, so this data is backing it up. This pie chart shows the total number of visitors entering the property at each Weehall entrance. For this period, there have been a total of 1,006 entries into the property, with the south entrance experiencing a little more traffic.
Can you tell us what those numbers are, because I'm blind?
The south entrance is 591, and the north entrance is 415, I believe it says.
And that's just November through January?
November, December, January,
Okay.
January 15th. So
Wow.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
It really is.
That is. That's pretty neat.
This chart shows access on a monthly basis. Still, November represents the upland bird and archery deer seasons. December represents the peak of the hunting season, so to speak, because it includes upland bird, archery deer, firearms deer seasons. And then January is going to reflect the late season upland bird hunters. And so it kind of makes sense. The first of the year, okay, people were finding the place, bird hunters. And then, okay, deer hunting peaking for archery and firearms, so it jumps a little higher. And then here at the late season, when there's not near as much activity, there's still a lot of activity. I was down there Tuesday and Wednesday, and there were people at both entrances each day. Saw people out there. So it kind of follows what you'd expect. The walk-in hunting program, it's not just being well utilized, as we said, it's bringing non-resident hunters to Edwards County. So far this year, I've observed vehicles from Arizona, North Carolina, Alaska, Missouri, Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado, Vermont, Nebraska, Michigan, Florida, Arkansas, and Tennessee. And I'm not down there every day. These are just what I've seen when I'm down there at the entrances.
And those people would not have been in Edwards County and possibly using
No,
retail, restaurants, hotels
Nope.
without this.
there's not a chance.
That's those people that watch us online, those millions of people that watch us every week.
Yep. Another good sign is the program may be catching on. This year, there were several new Weehall enrollments next to our properties down there. And more tracks in the area are going to bring more hunters to the area. So it's kind of a snowball or domino effect.
We haw.
Yeah, we haul.
Oh, my.
I've spoken to a few of the hunters, and all of them are really appreciative to have an opportunity like this because it's unique, and they've enjoyed the access. So far, like I said, this is the third year. I'm shocked that there have been no incidents. There's been nothing shot up. They pick up all their trash.
Wow.
It's really been amazing to me. So
Are they having fairly successful hunts?
they are. Yep. Here we go, Edwards County sales tax. This is basically a summary of November, December, and January from 2019 to 2025. I think that I've tried to look back previous years, and the revenue, they don't have it broken down by month. It is just for the year. But the revenue overall is pretty much the same in 19, 20, 21, 22. I think 2021 is an anomaly. I'm not exactly sure what happened there. I wish I'd have asked. But up into 2023, it hovered around that $65,000 to $70,000 mark. And then we get to 2025. And when I first saw that, I was like, wow, James isn't here. Yeah, he is. But James had done a lot of social media promoting and a little bit of advertising, and the word got out. And I know it's worse because of the hunters. But I just had a hard time with that number. That's a pretty big increase. So I called down there to the Edwards County Treasurer and asked about that. And they did have a 0.385% sales tax increase. So when I hung up, I was looking at it again. I thought, for the typical revenue, that should only be about a $3,000 increase. It's not shouldn't be at $125,000. So I called back, and they told me that the coming online of the dairy down there has brought a ton of traffic to town, and it's really picked up just in general retail sales. So it's hard to pull the R9's numbers out of there, but I guarantee you they're higher than what they have been the last 2 years.
We're part of that number. We
We are
might not
part
be
of that
all of it,
number.
but we're part of it.
Yes. So it's in there. It's just hard to find now with that this year with that. Outdoor Communicators of Kansas Conference. I believe Melissa may have put that in progress report. I'll just touch on it again. It was a pretty cool deal. The Outdoor Communicators of Kansas is a professional organization for communicators whose mission is to write, photograph, and create art about Kansas's outdoor wildlife and related activities, and to promote conservation and outdoor recreation. In early November, Melissa Dixon and the CVB staff applied for and was awarded the 2025 Outdoor Communicators of Kansas Conference. The two-day conference began on Sunday, the 23rd, and ended on Monday evening. On Sunday evening, Melissa, Jeff, and I provided a presentation about the opportunities Hayes has to offer, the well field and pipeline project, and the city's conservation measures, and the R9 property and our restoration efforts. The group was very interested and appreciated the city's work, and they were very interactive and asked numerous questions throughout the two-day event. As I mentioned, I didn't mention, I'll go back maybe. Yeah, the pictures on the left is just of the question and answer session after our presentation, and on the right is part of the group having dinner at Gallus after the morning hunt and afternoon sessions. And like I mentioned, day 2 included a guided hunt on the R9 property. I was the guide. It was a cool, very wet morning, but we were successful. The group flushed 6 coveys of quail and around a dozen pheasants. The group had some excellent dog work and ended up harvesting 9 quail. The pheasants were a little more elusive. The dozen or so pheasants flushed are all still out there. Overall, the group was very impressed with the property and its uniqueness. They appreciated the city's conservation efforts, and they appreciated that it was available to the public for hunting access. So overall, Jeff and Melissa and I were very impressed with this group. It was a really good group, and they were very interactive and very knowledgeable. So hopefully we'll get some good vibes out of that. This next one, Fly the Bob White. We've been talking about impediments to progress on the R9. This is a short video of just yet another one that I have to deal with on the property. And so I thought I would play this. It came as a special request for Commissioner Jacobs, sorry. I can't tell you her initials, but they're Elena Cunningham. Let's start this meeting.
Oh, I love it.
I wasn't sure if I was in a weird remake of Lassie and somebody fell in an irrigation tile,
Oh.
or if there's a quail Olympics, we've got a champion down there.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
So that's all I got for you this afternoon. I'd be happy to take any questions.
It's really wonderful. Thank you, Chris. We love hearing from you. And I think about where it was and where it is now, and how the state of Kansas feels about what we've done down there. It's phenomenal. Everybody needs to take a look at it and continue to look at it. And I appreciate the work that James does, getting that word out. This is a big deal along with everything else.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great project.
You know, what I like is that group of, you had Gellas that went down there, you know, we're not only helping Hayes, but we're taking them down there and potentially helping Kinsley, so
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
twofold. So
Yeah, we ate at the Hens Hideaway there in town. It was very good. They appreciated it.
That's awesome.
It was a good event.
Keep it up.
You like what you do, don't you, Chris?
It's pretty tough.
That's why I love the presentation. You just get as excited as he is about everything that happens.
right.
Good stuff.
Chris,
And-
well,
No, go ahead.
well, we can't pick how much of that increased revenue is due to the R9. For instance, the Hens Hideaway, have you asked any business owners, restaurants, retail, if they've had foot traffic that claims they're there for the walk-in
I
hunting?
have not. but
Okay.
It's funny you mentioned that, because on my way back the other day, I thought, I need to stop in there and see what kind of activity. So I might do that. Try
Sure.
that.
I was
Stop
just
in at the
curious.
Convenience store, and because it's the only restaurant. Well, there's a couple, but I could stop in there and just.
Right.
Is that the one that has a
necessarily-
robot?
Yeah, it has a robot.
It has a
it
robot
does.
server.
Mhm.
Yeah, you don't necessarily
that the
see every
one?
hunter, right?
No, not at all.
Okay. Because I was thinking, and Melissa will remember this, we used to give cards out at CVB to people that were in town, and they would leave them wherever they were.
Oh,
And remember, Gellas always had stacks and stacks of them. If we had a way of getting those to those hunters, even if it's like a 5% at a restaurant would make them pick it up and take it,
Yeah.
we might be able to track it that way.
Yeah, and that might not be a bad idea for Kinsley either.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if James could maybe help with it, but put a survey, like a QR code survey on the entrance as you're going in. They can scan that, provide some feedback, let us know what they're doing, how long they're saying they're hunting, if they're spending locally, staying elsewhere.
Yeah, we actually, Melissa created a couple QR codes that direct us to the City of Hayes and the R9 website, but that would be something in addition that we could look at adding to that.
Good idea. And then you said we had 42, 44 wells.
42 irrigation circles?
Yep,
Yep.
at one point.
Yep.
Just because it's fun math. You had brought up at one point that one irrigation circle equates to the amount of water that about 2,230 Hayes residents use, one circle. So closing those 42 circles equates to around 96,000 people worth of Hayes water that we are no longer throwing back on there. So, yeah, we're helping Kinsley and Edwards County with their economic viability. We are also showing that we are amazing stewards of water.
Yeah, it's a win-win. We just need more people to realize that.
Absolutely.
And if we use half the water we own, we'll have more than enough water to take care of our residents as we grow.
Absolutely.
Without harming them.
Yep.
I like it. Awesome. I
All
like
right.
good information. Thank
All
you.
right, Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. Next up is Mr. Progress.
Mr. Progress.
What'd you call Jared last month? Because he did it last time. Would've
Mr.
been
Assistant
safe.
Progress.
I don't know why
thanks.
you're picking on me today.
I'll think so.
Good afternoon, Colin Belzer, Deputy City Manager. So 3.5 yards of high early concrete was used by the Service Division to repair pavement after Water Resources had to perform sewer repairs on West 27th. At 29th and Willow, the alley return Service Division did reconstruct those, both entrances. And then Frontier Park, staff built, I think you saw maybe a photo of this earlier, but
We
now it's
did.
100% complete. Staff built new and much safer stairs and retaining wall on the south side of the stepping stones.
Nice.
Looks really nice. This image shows the north side of the stepping stones, which was completely rebuilt to provide safe travel. Staff installed a soccer and baseball design bollards, which are aesthetically pleasing and help prevent vehicles from parking near the south parking lot. We did
like
steal this idea. We're not the first ones to find these, just so you know. They are pretty cool.
Those are old Target balls repainted.
Here's one of a softball and a football.
I like it.
Lieutenant Brandon Hopman co-instructed a mental health first aid training for the Hayes Police Department and local law enforcement. This training focuses on how to respond to individuals who are experiencing a mental health crisis. Water Resources maintenance employee Joe Monroe and Eric Haas dug up the buried manhole at 27th and Inglewood, and they had to add risers and raise the manhole. Water Resources maintenance staff changed out a 4-inch meter at the Army Reserve Center. And they also replaced the fire hydrant at 27th and Thunderbird. Holly Dickman, Water Conservation Specialist, presented at the Northwest Kansas Water Day in Colby on January 14th. Holly provided participants at the event information about our water conservation education and outreach efforts. The CVB worked with KSN and the Bricks in downtown Hayes to film a holiday highlight segment that aired mid-December to promote holiday events in Hayes. And in a press release that came out yesterday.
Hey, Melissa.
She's got it. Can we
Oh,
interrupt
your
you?
notes.
Yeah. Hey, Melissa.
She's got it.
Hey, Melissa. You
Can
wanna,
she
can you
share
come
it?
up and talk about this real quick?
Sure. I'd be more than happy.
Today.
Sorry, Colin.
Hello, Commissioners. Melissa Dixon from the Convention and Visitors Bureau. I would love to tell you a little bit about who is Community Playmaker and what were they looking for in this designation. Community Playmaker is a media platform dedicated to celebrating and empowering civic leaders. Inspire them, give them ideas to help them be even better. What were they looking for in this? The Community of the Year Award highlights impactful initiatives in areas such as economic development, community engagement, public safety, arts and culture, environmental stewardship, and the creation of inclusive, high-quality environments. And when I read that, I said, that sounds like Hayes. Hayes is doing all of those things. And so we nominated ourselves. Our CVB Administrative Assistant, Jenny Rajeski, wrote a beautiful nomination with specific projects that fit the things that they were looking for. And I'm not going to read this whole press release, but I would love to read just two things that I think are pretty powerful. Hayes, Kansas demonstrates how Midwestern hospitality can be paired with modern innovation and environmental responsibility. The city has carefully balanced infrastructure growth with a focus on sustainability, ensuring that progress never comes at the expense of its natural resources or quality of life. Its long-standing leadership in water conservation has yielded groundbreaking initiatives that protect limited water supplies while still supporting new development and community amenities. So the press release went out today, and it calls out specific projects that you will recognize, that you've worked hard on, that brought us to the attention of this organization. I do know there were 100 cities that we were up against, but I don't know exactly who all of them were. There were 2 finalists that were in
They were
the-
from all over the country, though.
Yes, from all over the country. And my other favorite quote is from the editor-in-chief of Community Playmaker magazine. Hayes shows what it looks like when a community invests in every stage of life, from early childhood to retirement, while still protecting the environment and celebrating its culture. Their story is a roadmap for communities that want to grow without losing their sense of place.
Love it.
So there's so much value in this because this will live online, and when people search for Hayes, they will find these great stories. Community Playmaker has a beautiful digital magazine that they've got up that we've shared on our Facebook page, the feature, and they will continue to talk about us throughout the year, which is even more value. So I'm excited about that. So I hope you see it online tonight. Feel free to share.
We will be sharing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Melissa.
Let me read a little of that.
I couldn't have said it any better. So
I know, that's why.
we have a great CVB director, so a lot of work went into that.
Absolutely.
Excellent progress is being made at the new police station. Footers in the slab have been poured around where the new addition will be added to allow framing to occur. Basement framing is nearing completion, and plumbing and electrical installations are also occurring. It is flowing really well and on schedule.
Is that this year completion?
Yes, September, I think, is the date to be complete.
So far.
Airport ops staff performed repairs to the fence inside the Vortec construction-free clearance zone. So the Vortec is an aviation navigation system seen in the background of the picture on the left and requires a 1,000-foot restricted radius free of metals and other specific obstruction materials to ensure accurate signal designation or navigation. And because of that, of its importance, it does require more additional maintenance than a lot of the other fences. So for instance, it's wood, it can't be metal, so it doesn't stand up to the elements as well. So that's one reason why it requires so much attention.
So we had to repair it because deer were trying to jump over it, or?
Those 9 pheasants.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Airport ops staff installed service roads to better access airport-owned navigational aids. Routine maintenance and inspection must be performed per FAA requirements, and access can be difficult in inclement weather or when the ground is wet. So staff has worked hard to repair existing and install new roads as needed to ensure Part 139 standards are met. Any questions?
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you.
Mr. Progress.
Mr. Progress. Melissa, your turn.
Melissa Dixon again from the Convention and Visitors Bureau with some things happening in February. If you have not seen the photography exhibition down at the Hayes Arts Center, you still have another week or two. That'll run through February 11th. Fort Hays Tech North Central, their Innovation Center will have grand opening, ribbon cutting. The public is invited, so mark your calendar. February 5th, 2 p.m. out at their North Campus. United Way of Ellis County presents their annual fundraiser, Dueling Pianos, on February 7th out at Ellis County Fairgrounds. And if you need a little extra joy in your life, they need a lot of volunteers for this. Night to Shine, you can be an escort. February 13th, 6 to 9 p.m. at Celebration Church. The Fox Theater will present 2 shows in February on the 13th and the 20th. 49 Winchester, who has a song called Hayes, Kansas.
One of their biggest hits.
Yes.
he is.
So I guarantee they will play that. Get down there for that. And then Casey Donahue on the 20th. Hayes Community Theater presents Jackpot of Death. I'm not familiar with that. February 13th and 14th, 6:30 at their location on 8th Street. And then the Fort Hays State Encore Series will present Second City. This is the comedy club in Chicago who started there? Dan Aykroyd, the Belushi brothers, John Candy, Steve Carell, Chris Farley, Bill Murray, Mike Myers. They started at this comedy club, and this is the touring company. This will be a good show. February 13th, 7:30. Tickets go on sale first week in February. The Fort Hays State Rodeo Gala. This is a fundraiser for those talented Fort Hays State rodeo students. Their team helps fund their competitions, and that will be on Valentine's Day. Great opportunity, and they will have an auction with lots of equestrian-themed accessories. That's Valentine's Day at the Hilton Garden Inn. The Hays Symphony will present Winter Classics, and this is a special performance because it will feature student performers that have competed against their peers and were deemed the winners of their competitions. February 21st at 7:30. And the Hays Chamber will host their 38th annual Ag Appreciation. This is for anyone who supports the ag industry in our community. February 24th at the Ellis County Fairgrounds. Acacia 321A State Wrestling will be back, boys and girls, again, February 27th and 28th. Commissioners, I hope you can peek in and just see how it goes, and that event brings a lot of economic impact to our community. Hayes Chamber will host their legislative coffee with local legislators February 28th at the Hayes Public Library, 8:30 a.m. And the 33rd Annual Smoky Hill Pheasants Forever Chapter 424 Banquet will be February 28th out at Ellis County Fairgrounds. This event brings 300 to 500 people every year. So we appreciate that they always have this in Hayes. Thanks very much.
Maybe they can find those 12. Right? All right. Next up, commission inquiries and comments. Commissioner Blasing.
Appreciate all the information that was presented today. It's great to see us getting out there on the map. Good news with that Community of the Year. So excited about that. Last couple days been super busy. Toby and I went up to Topeka, had some dinner with some legislators. I dove into the KMU conference and learned a lot about Kansas municipal utilities. When they started talking electrical, though, I think my brain short-circuited a little bit. I'm not going to lie. A lot of interesting numbers up there. Taking some online courses, too, start learning my role here, so appreciate all those opportunities. Other than that, I don't have much.
Thank you. Commissioner Jacobs.
As I always do, I comment about our level of our staff and the kind of jobs that they do, and we saw it again today in the reports that we got. And I don't think this has ever been brought up, but I think it's really, if it has, I apologize, but second, bringing it up twice is not a bad thing. Melissa Dixon sets a really high bar for convention and visitors. She has been appointed to the Governor's Council on Travel and Tourism, and that is a really big deal. And she will set another bar by having achieved that appointment. I won't even talk about the fact that she's serving for a very short time, but won't go there. But congratulations, that's a big deal.
Thank you. Commissioner Musil.
Yeah, I want to touch on Melissa, with your news that you've announced recently. You'll be missed. You and your husband will be missed, but I'm glad you're, going after your passion and stuff. So it's going to be a high bar, you've set a high bar, I appreciate everything you've done for our community, what you've shared tonight and stuff. So and Chris and John, what you guys have done for the R9 Ranch, it's just, with everything going on, it's just awesome. And and hearing, you guys down at Topeka and what Representative Washington's doing on her behalf and what Senator Moran's doing. I mean, a lot of this wouldn't be possible without those guys, working on our behalf. It may not be out in front and center, but they're doing a lot of work for us, and we very much appreciate it. And, more than anything, it's going to be a big party this weekend, so go Broncos.
I'm glad you're getting your I'm glad you're getting
We'll see if it lasts much longer.
Yeah, we're moving on. Like I told you, football season ended last year.
Yeah, you're a poor sport.
Oh, God. Can't even. Anyways. Commissioner Cunningham.
I know it's been said, but I just want to express my sincere gratitude towards everyone who is involved in the efforts towards securing that CDS, and so a special thank you to Senator Moran as well. It means a lot to all of us and makes that project feel closer to reality, so just appreciate that. And then we know this weekend has potential weather. We also know should be a wrestling tournament in town, so there should be travelers, so be kind to our fellow travelers. And I know most of you have probably seen it today, but just wanted to say it publicly, the city, and thank you to the city staff who have been working to lay down that brine. I know they were doing a couple applications, and I think we hear sometimes they did it too soon, and I think we don't realize as citizens there's a lot of thought that goes into that. There's a lot of science that goes into it. We have to lay it down before it's too cold, and so just know the city is working and prepping in case the storm arrives.
And I would add, it doesn't go anywhere unless it rains. When that brine gets put down, it'll stay for weeks as long as it doesn't rain. It's just a salt that adheres to the road, so we'll be good.
Thank you. That's all I got.
Very good.
Oh, wait, can I say one last
You
thing?
sure can.
Sorry. Also, good luck to Hayes High. They play in Colby this weekend, and safe travels because with the weather, it could get a little
It always is.
fun.
Go Eagles.
So, yeah.
It's great. Yeah.
Again, yes, yeah. Thank you, Senator, if you're watching.
Along with the millions.
We really appreciate you. That is a huge, huge bonus to us. We really thank you for that. Yes, if you are out and about this weekend, please travel safely, be mindful. And to those staff that are going to work, should something big happen, they are going to be working their butts off like they always do. And I don't think there's a public works crew that works harder. We have an amazing staff, and they take care of us really well. So keep an eye out for them. Give them a wave when you see them. They work hard. Any executive session? If not, we'll call the meeting at 5:21.